As usual, there will be no spoilers in these reviews. Hi everyone, I'm back today to talk about the books that I have read recently. I have 7 books that I've read recently. As usual, there will be no spoilers, and some of these were brilliant, some of them were, one of them was atrocious, some of them were so-so. So I'm just gonna crack on and pick them up at random. So the first one that we've got is this one, Rattled by Jen White. This is my most sort of recent read. This is one that I've just finished this morning, and this is a look at postpartum psychosis. I mentioned it in a haul video recently, and wow, what a very interesting book. I've said before that I think that the sort of the stigma around mental health should be lifted, and I've watched a couple of friends suffer with mental health, and so when I was offered this for review, I was really interested, and I was not wrong to be so. I didn't know very much about postpartum psychosis prior to reading this, and the struggle that Jen went through is just, it's so hard to comprehend. At one point she thinks she's Cameron Diaz, and she genuinely thinks she is. And there are a load of things where she sort of gets caught up in sort of reality and fiction, and she sort of slips into different time periods within her head, and she thinks she's someone completely different and thinks she's reliving a past life. And just to be able to come through the other side of that and to be able to talk about it and discuss what went on makes Jen quite a strong person, in my opinion. There are some things I didn't agree with. There's some things that she sort of says that don't really resonate with how I feel about parenthood and things, but it didn't take away from how much I was interested in a story, and I really feel for her, and I think she's very brave for putting this out there. The next book that I've got is this one, The Bed and Breakfast Star by Jacqueline Wilson. If you've seen a few of my hauls, you'll know that I'm sort of reliving some of my old childhood favourites. And I have another 2 childhood books, and the rest of them are thrillers. But I'm reading them all with my daughter at the moment. And The Bed and Breakfast Star was brilliant. It's about Elsa, who her parents have lost their home, and now she's having to live in a bed and breakfast. And even the teachers talk sort of down about the children that are living in the bed and breakfast. And she's a shining star, and she wants everybody to know just how much of a shining star she is. I think books like this are brilliant to read to children that aren't familiar with these sort of situations, as well as children that are familiar with them, because the children that are familiar with this sort of setup will resonate really well with Elsa, and they'll be able to identify with her as a character. But for children like my daughter, who hasn't known any sort of this sort of life, it's a good way for to teach her about the outside world from a safe point of view, and to open her mind a bit, because my daughter is 6 years old now, and I do think it's important for her to know about the outside world, but in a way where I can approach it gently and bring the world to her in her own surroundings, if that makes sense. So I think that Jacqueline Wilson books are really good for sort of tackling difficult subjects. The next books that I've got, I'm going to group them together. We have 2 Gus Boots books. These are the last 2 children's books, and the rest are thrillers. I read the Stay Out of the Basement and The Werewolf of Fever Swamp. As I've said before about Gus Boots books, they're fun. They're really, the advertised has been for 8 to 12 year olds. My daughter's 6 and she doesn't find these scary. Again, it depends on your individual children, but I just think they're a fun sort of dip into the horror genre. My daughter loves scary things, so we've been reading these together. Stay Out of the Basement is about a brother and a sister duo whose mum goes away, and the dad is doing all these experiments in the basement, and he wants them to stay out of the basement, but as sort of true Goosebumps style, things are starting to become apparent that things aren't quite right with her father, and he's acting weird and slightly sinister. And obviously there's a twist at the end of every single Goosebumps book. I really enjoyed the twist in this one. Sometimes they're terrible. This one was a bit of a laugh. I enjoyed it. The next one, Werewolf of Fever Swamp. Again, a brother and sister duo. They move to the sort of the swamps of Florida, and they leave all of their friends and things behind, and they start to hear weird howls in the night, and yeah, it goes from there. Again, there was a twist at the end which was somewhat decent. I thought it was alright, my daughter hated it, but again, it was a decent and a fun read, and they're really quick to get through. They're only, let's see, how many pages it is. Yeah, this is only 123 pages, so they're really quick to get through, and they're just a fun read. The next book that I'm going to talk about is a book that got me out of my reading slump. It is this one, Your Guilty Secret. I couldn't wait to read this when it was sent to me for review, and I was not disappointed. I give this 4 out of 5 stars, and I loved it. So I have read a few prior to sort of the next couple of books. One that I'm going to talk about in a few minutes that I absolutely hated. But I've read a few books that I've really hated lately, so I haven't been reading as much as I normally do. I think that happens when you read a few books you don't enjoy, then you end up sort of stuck in a slump where you don't really fancy picking up anything else to read. So I picked up this and delved into it, and I was hooked pretty much straight away. This is about Lara King, who is a celebrity. She's very well known, and it's all set in LA, I believe. Lara's hiding something in her past that she doesn't want anybody to know about, but when her daughter Ava goes missing, things start to quickly unravel for her, and it is just, what a whirlwind. And I did not see this coming. A lot of the time I sort of can guess twists and sort of guess what I think's coming, and I'm often right. This, I did not see it coming, and I really enjoyed it, and I really can't recommend this enough if you're into a thriller. The next book that I've got here, I absolutely loved it and I ploughed through it. This is The Passengers by John Mars. Again, this is a proof copy. This was sent to me for review. Look how good this is with like black edges. I loved it. I don't know how to describe this without giving you any spoilers, because I don't want to spoil it. So I'm going to be very vague. But I'm also going to say this was a 5-star read, and I really want to push this to you and say how good it is. This is about sort of in the future in the UK. I'm not too sure how far in the future it is because a date isn't given, but it's not like hundreds of years in the future. I'm guessing it's sort of set in the sort of the near future. And this is about cars on the road have become driverless. And you get in and you program in where you're going to go in like a sat-nav, and your car takes you, and the car makes decisions on which roads to take. It'll automatically avoid roadblocks and things. And there has been sort of a rolling out of level 5 cars which are now completely automated. And what happens is you get in, you lock the car, and it does everything for you. You don't have any braking, any steering wheel, anything. The car's supposed to decide if there's a crash coming, which it's meant to calculate which is going to cause the least loss of lives, and it sort of makes all the decisions automated, and everybody's getting in these cars and going about the place. But one morning, 8 different passengers get in their automated vehicles, ready to begin their day's journey, and the cars have been hacked. And 8 cars are set on a collision course to crash into each other within 2 hours. And the journeys of these individual people, and I just can't even tell you how much I love this. 5 stars. Amazing. And the final book that I've got today is this one, Sleeping with the Enemy by Nancy Price. I was gonna do a comparison between book and movie, but in the end I couldn't even finish this book. It was so bad. I love the film Sleeping with the Enemy. I think it's brilliant, and it's about a woman who wants to escape her abusive husband. Oh, but this book is so bad, so bad. It's really bad for body image. We hear all the way through about how thin the character is, her thin wrists, her thin hips, her thin body. She's so thin, she's painfully thin. Oh, look how thin she is, thin. Then we've got another woman, and she's instantly described as, she's thin, but this one's fat. And she's so fat and disgusting, and it's really bad. It's awful, and it's written by a woman. So from now on I'm going to talk a little bit with spoilers for this book because I hated it so much, and this is the last book, so if you're not interested in hearing spoilers for it, I suggest you click off now, and I'll see you in my next video. But for anybody else who wants to hear the rest, we've got a love interest in it when the abused wife escapes her husband. The love interest, what a complete arse. It talks at length with how her constant rebuffals of his advances, he spots her as she moves in and decides he's going to make advances towards her, without even knowing it. He just decides he's going to start making advances, and because she rebuffs him, he gets annoyed about it, starts throwing his toys out the pram and acting really dodgy about the fact that she's rebuffing him, which, I mean, what the hell? And then it continues down sort of a path where he pretty much nearly rapes her. She's crying, and he's starting to try and have sex with her, and she's crying. And it talks about how he really wants to slap her and beat her about the place because she makes him feel like that. And it's like, what the hell? Why is this book glorifying violence against women? I found it disgusting, and I hated it. I absolutely hated it. I love the film, and so I'm really disappointed about this. Don't waste your time or money on this. No wonder I couldn't get this new. No wonder I had to get this second hand. It's probably gone out of print for a reason. Disgusting book. There we go. That was my absolute rant for the day. And so those are the books I've read recently, and as usual, if you've read any of them, let me know. If you're going to, let me know. And if there's any books that have absolutely disgusted you, appalled you as much as this one's appalled me, let me know, because I don't want to end up reading anything like that piffle ever again. Yeah, I'll speak to you soon. Bye for now.